They want it both ways. These people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention. And then let me write a book about how much we don't want attention.
Meghan Markle's latest podcast appearance, pitched as a raw and unscripted conversation, has drawn widespread backlash from critics who accused her of staging the entire performance to gain public sympathy. Despite the show being framed as no makeup, no script, viewers and commentators alike, including Bill Maher, called out the seemingly flawless production and Meghan's ability to summon tears without any visible emotion, leading many to claim she was manipulating the audience rather than connecting with them. Observers noted that she appeared fully camera-ready with styled hair and glowing skin, contradicting the podcast's message of stripped-down authenticity. The emotional monologues centered around her daily stresses and sacrifices, including school drop-offs and household responsibilities, were labeled tone-deaf, especially given her luxurious lifestyle, paid staff, and privileges. Critics said the entire episode reeked of performative vulnerability designed to shield her crumbling brand from public disinterest.
Well, it was a Channel 5 investigation as to the state of the Sussex's finances. Now, we know they didn't move to a two-bedroom cottage somewhere in the middle of nowhere. They're living in quite a large mansion in Montecito.
Bill Maher and fellow commentators tore into Meghan's complaints of hardship, highlighting the absurdity of a billionaire duchess lamenting the toll of parenting duties while being served by a live-in nanny and a team of staff. Maher emphasized the disconnect between her privileged reality and the average listener's struggles, mocking her framing of standard tasks as emotional burdens. The episode's attempts to humanize Meghan came across as forced, with many claiming her tales of exhaustion and work stress were laughable in contrast to what everyday mothers face without assistance. As the backlash mounted, critics accused her of weaponizing emotion and dramatizing trivial problems to position herself as a misunderstood martyr. This portrayal of struggle, they argued, was not only disingenuous, but insulting to working-class women who manage far more with far less. The podcast became a symbol of tone deafness, showcasing how out of touch Meghan appears despite her repeated attempts to brand herself as relatable.
And one of the things that Prince Harry made very public when he left the royal family, one of the things that he was quite disgruntled about was the fact that his father basically cut him off financially. So really they were in a state where they had to make a lot of money. The
controversy escalated further when a seemingly innocuous gift Meghan gave to a friend resurfaced during the podcast, a basket of preserves and ice cream, signed off as Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. This raised eyebrows across the internet and media, as Meghan and Harry had previously stepped back from royal duties and lost the right to use such titles formally. Critics saw this as a desperate grasp at status and power she no longer holds, calling the gesture cringe and narcissistic. Even in private interactions, Meghan appeared unwilling to relinquish her royal identity, clinging to it as a source of influence despite the formal renunciation. Commentators highlighted the contradiction. Meghan frequently rails against the royal family and claims to want independence, yet continues leveraging her title for clout in personal and business settings. For detractors, this basket was more than a gift. It was a symbol of hypocrisy and her unwillingness to let go of a brand she simultaneously vilifies and monetizes.
He blundered in a video and said, the Netflix deal was an idea that was pitched to him and he had to basically pay for his family's security, which I'm sure if you're giving the Sussexes $100 million.
Podcast host Jamie Kern-Lima, a billionaire entrepreneur in her own right, faced intense scrutiny for her handling of the episode, with many labeling her a cheerleader for Meghan, rather than a journalist or interviewer. Lima's over-the-top affirmations, exaggerated emotional reactions, and refusal to challenge any of Meghan's narratives made the interview feel more like a fan meet and greet than a meaningful discussion. Her gushing delivery was described as awkward and staged, contributing to the episode's lack of depth. Critics argued that Lima's constant agreement with Meghan turned the conversation into a self-congratulatory echo chamber, rather than a probing exploration of issues. The internet mocked Lima's performative praise and willingness to feed Meghan's narrative without pushback, with some going as far as to call the entire podcast an infomercial for the Duchess's ego. The lack of critical engagement from Lima undermined any claims to authenticity and made both women appear out of touch and overly image-conscious.
A dollar deal, you're not happy to hear that the people only took it just so they could pay for lifelong security. But they were in a state where they had to make money and they had to make money fast. It also explored the state of their finances.
Meghan's emotional delivery during the episode also came under fire, especially given previous interviews in which she bragged about her ability to cry on command, particularly from her left eye. This prompted many to dismiss her podcast tears as a theatrical performance rather than a genuine outpouring of feeling. Users on social media joked that even her tears seemed to have a PR strategy, pointing out the lack of actual tears during her supposed breakdowns. Her polished tone, calm demeanor, and carefully curated anecdotes didn't help her case, as critics believed the whole thing was rehearsed in time to salvage her brand amid declining public interest. The overlap between vulnerability and self-promotion became too blurred for many to buy into, with the podcast podcast episode ultimately reinforcing the idea that Meghan's authenticity is more scripted than spontaneous. In the eyes of skeptics, this was yet another attempt to craft a narrative that elicits sympathy while sidestepping real accountability or substance.
Meghan Markle's estimated net worth from her work from Suits and her lifestyle brand was about £5 million. And we know that Prince Harry was left inheritance by his late mother, Princess Diana, as well as the Queen Mother.
Beyond the podcast, Meghan's latest lifestyle business ventures, including jams, pet bowls, and cupcake sprinkles, were roasted online as superficial and out of step with the larger cultural moment. Her rapid product sellouts were seen as artificial, given the limited inventory and PR-driven launch. Users criticized the venture for using relatable marketing tropes that clashed with her actual lifestyle, which includes luxury homes and staff. Critics painted her as someone desperately trying to appeal to middle America, while clearly having no true understanding of the demographic. The wholesome homemaker persona Meghan tried to adopt was described as inauthentic, especially by viewers who remembered her saying she doesn't cook or engage in traditional domestic roles. The disconnect between her branding and reality was so severe that even supportive voices began to express doubts. Trademark filings for yoga mats and lifestyle products only added fuel to the fire, with many labeling the move a tone-deaf brand cash grab.
Estimates around sort of between 20 and 30 million pounds. But we know that they have quite an expensive mortgage on their house. Their security is quite a hefty sum as well. Annually, we know that Prince Harry doesn't really go to many places without a 4-car convoy.
Adding to the controversy was the revelation that Meghan and Harry were negotiating high-value deals with Disney, Netflix, and publishers while still active royals. This raised ethical questions about how they leveraged their royal status for commercial gain before formally stepping away from the monarchy. Critics pointed out that these deals were being lined up under the guise of public service, but in reality they were carefully orchestrated business moves. Queen Elizabeth II ultimately barred the couple from continuing to use royal titles in their commercial pursuits, emphasizing that one cannot be half in, half out. The public viewed this sequence of events as proof that Meghan was more interested in fame and fortune than in duty or tradition. For many, it solidified the idea that Meghan and Harry's exit was not about mental health or privacy, but about monetization and media manipulation. Their departure from royal duties has been framed less as a principled stand and more as a calculated pivot to celebrity.
So it's just kind of exploring what's next, how dire their finances is. I'm sure they have a lot of smart investments that is probably paying for a lot of their daily upkeep. And I don't think that financially they're going to be in much trouble.
Prince Harry's recent BBC interview added more fuel to the fire, particularly his comments on King Charles's alleged neglect of their security needs. Harry framed his family's situation as dangerous, claiming any harm to them would be Charles's responsibility. These remarks were widely condemned, with critics accusing him of exploiting his father's cancer diagnosis to score PR points. Royal insiders and media commentators alike called his tone manipulative and self-pitying, describing the interview as a royal pity party lacking accountability. Some even claimed his behavior strained the Queen's health in her final years, with suggestions that the couple's drama may have hastened her death. The optics of Harry placing blame on his ill father while promoting his own security agenda did not sit well with audiences, reinforcing the perception that the Sussexes prioritize public sympathy over family dignity. His statements, wrapped in grievance and veiled threats, only deepened the public's mistrust.
Documentary investigating the Sussexes titled "Where Did the Money Go?" Here's a clip.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex were once the darlings of the nation.
They were this fabulous.
From back in the days, we stand, look at Cameron, you're stirring something. I didn't necessarily want to do that, and I didn't want a reality show. And so the only way to feel as though you were still in conversation with me, I felt, was I had to be talking to the people in the room with me.
Meghan's highly curated narrative of motherhood also came under scrutiny as she shared details like writing nightly emails to her children, claiming they would one day appreciate the archive of love letters. While some praised the sentiment, others saw it as an unrealistic portrayal meant to boost her image as a perfect mother. Critics questioned the practicality of her claims and whether they were more about optics than actual parenting. With many parents struggling to juggle responsibilities, Meghan's carefully crafted anecdotes felt more like scripted PR talking points than authentic reflections. Her complaints about 6:30 a.m. drop-offs and schedule coordination were contrasted with the reality that most parents handle such tasks without help or public recognition. The narrative of her being an overworked supermom didn't resonate with listeners who saw through the performative element. Instead of gaining admiration, her comments fueled further accusations of trying to sculpt a fantasy life to sell products and secure loyalty from followers.
The royal family, completely valuable to the UK and beyond.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex!
As the backlash intensified, many pointed to the broader trend of Meghan and Harry framing themselves as perpetual victims of a cruel system and media landscape. The public, however, seems to have grown weary of this narrative, especially when paired with million-dollar media deals and a lavish lifestyle. Critics argued that the couple's continued cries for privacy and understanding contradict their endless self-exposure through books, interviews, and streaming content. Meghan's absence from Time magazine's influential people list and the ridicule surrounding her appearance at the summit fueled further doubts. Viewers mocked her metaphors about dried flower petals and magic moments, labeling the speech as pretentious and hollow. The idea that she could be a relatable guru or influential leader fell flat, especially as her business efforts were seen as derivative or trivial. Her critics maintain that Meghan's relentless pursuit of attention and control over her image has made her more of a brand than a person, blurring the line between public figure and product.